One of President Bush's most lasting legacies is the Americans with Disabilities Act. The law prohibits discrimination against anyone based on a disability. Steve Bartlett was a key author of the law when he represented Texas in Congress, and he joins us now to talk about the legislation and the man who championed the cause. Mr. Bartlett, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for doing this. The ADA was a major legacy for George Bush. He was the sort of the creator and the genius that identified it, put it in his inaugural speech, and we got it through.
Now, many people don't realize, Mr. Bartlett, that President Bush did a lot more than just sign this landmark Americans with Disabilities Act into law. Please tell us about how he actually proposed this legislation.
Well, it was a crucial moment in time. In the 1980s, the Congress had passed a number of small individual disability rights legislation in education and employment and transportation, but nothing that actually provided civil rights to people with disabilities and independence. And so in sharing that with President Bush, a number of his friends on Capitol Hill when he was vice president, he took all that in, and then when he ran for president and got elected, he then put his proposal for the ADA into his inaugural speech. And you know, when a president says he's going to submit something in his inaugural speech, that means it's really going to get done. And then he stayed with it all the way through and made sure that nothing got off track, and we got the legislation by June of 1990.
A true testament to his resolute character, I am sure. The rest, as they say, is history. Mr. Bartlett, we're playing a video of 41 signing the ADA. Now, during that ceremony, he hands a pen over to a minister who has no arms. Also, there are other Americans with disabilities. It really is an amazing image to behold. Why do you think George Herbert Walker Bush was so passionate about making sure that people with disabilities were seen as important members of society?
And that was why George Bush did it, to make that visual image that somebody with no arms still has feet and still has a brain and still has a capacity to serve others. So George Bush, just with that one action, made his case for moving forward and for independence for people with disabilities.
You were a Republican congressman from Texas at the time. Was there a lot of debate over the act's passage? Was it controversial?
There was a lot of debate because it's complicated. You have to put in a provision for how do you make a reasonable accommodation? How do you achieve technology? How do you make sure that the buildings are retrofitted without having to have everyone tear down their buildings and start all over? So it's complicated. And for that, we always had George Bush helping us, meaning he would be part of the brainstorming of being able to say, well, have you thought about this, and try that and stay with it. So he was both an inspiration, but also provided a lot of the education.
How has it impacted the lives?
It's amazing. Things aren't perfect in the disability world, but people with disabilities now have the opportunity to get a job, to have a reasonable accommodation, to be able to go to school, to have a mainstream education, to have access to health care, and all those other things that allow people to live full and productive lives. We've had a significant increase in the number of disabled persons who are employed, but they still have a long ways to go. We still have about a 38% employment for disabilities, and that's a big step up, but we still have a long ways to go, and the country is moving ahead on that front.
You were at the Capitol Rotunda yesterday. It was a special gathering of the disabled community to pay respects to President Bush. What was that like?
It was heartwarming. It was just amazing. The Bush family invited the disability community to come, Republicans and Democrats. It was all bipartisan, and it reminded us that George Bush knew how to solve problems in the public good without the partisan politics. There was not a dry eye in the House, and even Sully the dog, the service dog, got a special role.
Oh my goodness, we've been watching here as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Bartlett. I know you had a special relationship with him, so our condolences and prayers to you. Thank you for making time to talk with us.
Thank you for calling.